Hey, welcome to State Battle Born. Today, it's an honor that I have Command Senior Enlisted Leader with me, Cameron Pieters, and I have the 30th Adjutant General of the great state of Nevada, Major General Ondra Berry. Thank you guys both for being here today. I think that I can't thank you enough because I know that you guys are very busy, but I have some questions I want to throw at you, and hopefully we can get to some answers.
Hopefully we will.
You guys have been around a while. You guys have been in the Guard for a number of years. I know that Chief, you served in active duty for a while, but you guys have been around a long time. You guys entered in, you guys were, that 20, 21, 22, 23. We can remember way back when to those years. What I want you to do is paint a picture for me of what a soldier or an airman coming in at that 21 to 24-year-old age, what's the difference in those young soldiers that we see today and maybe those young soldiers that you were when you came in? What's the difference?
Let's go first.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for being with us and asking us these questions. The second thing that I want to say is I don't know if everybody knows this out there, but Major General Berry was enlisted before he became an officer. And he was actually the Outstanding Airman of the Year in 1988. So any opportunity I have to remind people that he was enlisted and he did that. So
before this audience was born.
But I think back to when I first joined the National Guard to where I was, 6 years into the National Guard. I think about my experience, and then I also think about the experiences that I see other soldiers and airmen go through.
Yeah.
And that transformation from being, a brand new 18-year-old person coming into the military versus somebody maybe on the verge of re-enlisting in their second term is huge.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the people in that situation really understand the magnitude of it because they've, exponentially grown here, a little bit here, a little bit here. But it's people like General Berry and I that step back and say, wow, you're a totally different person today at, 24, 25 than you were at 18. And watching that happen, because that first enlistment is really the foundation. Yeah. That's really when we get soldiers and the airmen in the organization. We're training them in their MOSs and their AFSCs, and they're really learning the ropes of the organization. Yeah. It's not until the next term, the next enlistment that you get them where they really start firing on all cylinders, and their contribution to the organization in elevating us really starts to show. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely. And I'll go back, and you go back to when I joined, where you talked about the Outstanding Airman of the Year till now. Well, first of all, I use a word called exposure. We just were not exposed to as much in terms of the mission, the war fight, very little about the domestic operations, state partnerships. And so, but I look at those today, deployments are, especially over the last, 10 years have been at a high tempo. When you think about a lot of those in the audience today, have been involved maybe in the COVID mission or a wildfire mission or a search and rescue. That didn't exist when I was coming up. I think about now we talk a lot about Tonga, Fiji, and Samoa being our state partners. They just have the knowledge today that back then we just didn't have the knowledge. And I'll say and the second word is because of technology, because of social media, because you have to learn faster today than back in our times. You got to remember we didn't have a cell phone.
Come on.
Okay, we didn't have a computer. We didn't have an iPad. We just didn't have that, and so it just moved. We had things called teletypes. Okay, so things just didn't move as fast in terms of getting information. The area of MOSs and AFSCs were not as expansive, as they are today. We didn't have a MAFS mission back then. They didn't have a transportation company. Signal was there, but it was not as big. And you just look, they have a different aviation now. And so the opportunities will be the third word that I throw in there, just weren't there. But now we're just touching the tip of the spear in when you see the growth in cyber and the technology, artificial intelligence. These are going to be just fields today that our young workforce now has access to that we really it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say the MOSs and the FSCs over the next 5 to 10 years may not have even been invented. And so we pretty much had a set structure of what was available to us versus what's available now. Like, and even I'll even go back to our professional military education. The learning opportunities just weren't there. Where now so much you can get on the internet and learn. Leadership, growth and development just wasn't there, but now it's available to all. And probably the last thing I'll just say is we just didn't have access to information. To go to out back then, Airman Leadership School. We called it NCO Prep School. Now they call it Airman Leadership School. The opportunities you didn't even know. So if somebody just happened to say, have you ever heard of, because you didn't have the ability to find out about your own career, where now you can just Google what you're supposed to do. And so Google, I didn't know what Google was. There was no Facebook. There was no Twitter. Okay. There was no Snapchat. So, but now it's just all there. So Tom Pieters wrote a book called The World is Flat. And what he was talking about, the world is connected. Well, now our young people today are more connected to what is going on and have more access and availability. And I'll come full circle to have the exposure to it. And to me, that is the biggest difference in terms of today versus many years ago, and the options and availability. So the exciting part about the National Guard, the exciting part about the military is, if you look at a corporate America versus the National Guard, there's some same similarities in terms of career fields, opportunities, but ours are much more expansive. We get to see and do things that have a noble calling to them. And I never got that back then, but today I just hope our young people understand that what they get a chance to do today saves lives, make a difference from your domestic operations to the war fight. And what we're doing, even with our state partnerships, that I didn't understand back then. Today, they're right in the middle of it. We can't be successful as a National Guard, as a military, without this current generation of young airmen and soldiers. Cannot be successful. Impossible. So thank goodness dinosaurs and unicorns of today are standing on the shoulders and getting out of the way for this younger generation coming up.
Yeah, and I think it's exciting. When you were talking, I jotted down a few things, and the soldier, that 21 to 24-year-old soldier that's in their third year, in the middle of their term, they exist in a very dynamic culture. Mm-hmm. Where I'm not saying that when you guys first came in, it wasn't dynamic, but I think the dynamicy is huge. Mm-hmm. Now, the second one is those soldiers that are today, as they compared to long ago, the soldiers today are extremely flexible because they got so much to take on. Mm-hmm. You talked about SPP, you talked about domestic operations and all of. They have to be flexible.
That's right.
Our governor Lombardi, when he was downstairs talking about it, he said, when he came and addressed us, he said, when I came to drill, we pulled triggers and shot the tanks, and we went home. And that was about it. Yeah. So our soldiers need to be flexible. And then the other one that I heard you say was their capacity needs to be huge. Mm-hmm. Let me rephrase that. Their capacity continues to grow, right, as they spend more time in the opportunities that they have in the National Guard with the education that's out there.
Right.
It's huge.